And welcome to the eighth episode of the Fleet Nation podcast, where we are bringing in all the industry tastemakers and celebrities to have conversations about what it takes to maximize this journey in the music and entertainment industry. On the eighth episode, I have Mecca,
Micca.
Mika. I've got Mika
Yes.
here with
Hi.
me.
Pop culture
Um,
Micca. Hi.
I want to pass this over to Mika so she can introduce herself. But first, you guys know that you can follow me on Instagram at It's Just Miss Wells and always keep up with the Fleet Nation podcast movement at Fleet Nation Podcast. Now I have to pass it over to this queen so she can introduce herself officially.
Hi, everybody. My name is Micca. I go by Pop Culture Micca because it's easier to find in my handles. But if you just go to Google and type in Pop Culture Micca, everything comes up.
All right. Well, Mika, thank you again for coming in here. I gotta start off like by saying kudos to you. I've browsed your social media, listened to some of your music, and instantly became a fan. So I'm
Thank
excited to
you.
have the opportunity to unpack this story today.
Thank you.
Um, no problem. Like, kick it off and tell us just a little bit about what drew you into the music. Like, where did your inspiration come from to want to be a performer?
So my dad in the 90s won the Apollo and
Oh wow.
ended up getting a record deal. Um, I forget the name of the record label, but it's Andre Harrell and all those people in the 90s. So once he got a record deal, like everything started taking off. He was on tour with like all the R&B acts, and it was just like I couldn't get away from it because he was always in the studio. He always dragged us, me and my siblings to certain things. So it was just always around us. And also in school, I was always in something musically inclined, like whether it was playing the piano, being in a band, I played the drums, I was in a choir. So I'm just music,
Mm.
music, music.
I can definitely tell there has been an all around passion for every part of the sound that you've created.
Yeah.
Talk just a little bit about some of the people as you were growing up that helped influence the sound that you are creating right now because you're unique, but I'm sure that there was someone or some people that along the way that was like, oh, I love this music.
So every time I tell people like my top people, they're like, it's so different because they're not the same. So I am in love with Janet Jackson, Tony Braxton, and Missy Elliott.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
all fantastic. Like, oh, all have their own lanes, their
Yeah.
own uniqueness, but
Yeah.
powerhouses in their own right.
Yes.
Um,
And I guess like with, becoming older, I got into rap. And that's when, it was a lot of the Nicki Minaj's and Eve, things like that.
mhm.
So those women like that definitely influenced me as well.
Oh, that gives you a dynamic sound where you can connect with your audience in a variety of different ways. Like, go ahead. Okay.
I was just gonna say, yeah. I was just gonna say, yeah. It definitely does, because I am a writer, so even though I started out just singing, I like to create. So I tried my hand at rapping because that started to be popular. When I was getting into my early young adult years. So
Okay.
hip hop was like the thing. And so I wanted to try my hand at that. And so that's when I started doing it. So I kind of mixed pop and rap together, and I kind of still do that today.
So talk about your first rap song that you put together. Like, do you
Yeah, I remember it. Oh, God, it was awful. Yeah, it was called Shake.
Okay.
And we would just like go download songs off the internet and then like do little freestyles to them,
Okay.
and then just put them out.
Okay. Simple enough. I mean, that is how you end up figuring out what works for you and what doesn't by just trying different things. Kind of progressing on into your career outside of like that first rap song that you put together. Talk just a little bit about your first album and what it took for you to really pull that together, create creatively,
Mhm.
and how you felt about your first project once it launched.
So the funny thing is, I've never put out an album. And
Okay.
yeah, I have a lot of music, but I've never put out an album. And the reason is because being that I've been, since I was younger behind the scenes, I
Okay.
kind of knew what would be the wave and things like that. So I always put out singles.
Okay.
But I would just put out a lot of them. So but I've always put out singles and I always put out videos. So a lot of the times, people would think that, I might have had one because I had a lot of music. But to be honest, in the era that we're in, millennials, Gen Z, it doesn't serve us to make full bodies of work because it's not
Mhm.
being consumed like it used to be. So.
So you went right where I hoped you did, because what I noticed with this new single, Pristine, that you have out, you've done a fantastic job as far as your marketing is concerned, and within a very short amount of time, it's doing numbers on all
Yes.
kind of platforms, including
Yes.
YouTube. So
Yes.
talk to the people just a little bit about what your marketing strategy looks like without exposing all of your secrets that you got in your arsenal that's kind of help you figure out how to maximize this social media world.
Right. No, honestly, I can talk freely because I am an independent artist, and
Okay.
the reason why I wanted to stay that way is because I do have a lot of creative ideas and thoughts, especially when it comes to my songs and music videos. And when you get with certain labels, they can kind of change that. So, I haven't gone that way yet. But with marketing, I've been fortunate enough to have a friend that is a marketer. His name is Jens the Guru, and he does it for, I mean, the biggest artists and some of the biggest artists in the world. And you will be surprised that it's not anything like mind blowing. It's really just paying attention to the consumers, the algorithms, things like that. Paying attention to what they watch, what they listen to. So that, and then also being able to put forth the best content, because you can market all day. If it's
Yeah.
not good content, they will just bypass it. So.
And when you say good content, listening to the song Christine was, I loved it. Like, it's been in rotation for me since I had the opportunity to tune into the track. So talk about your creative process with coming up with that track, and how you thought about your visuals from writing it to even identifying the best beat for yourself.
So I end up getting the beat first.
Okay.
And I wanted to do like a pop EDM, and it was going back and forth. So I was like, okay, I like this beat. And then I got with my friend. His name is Yubi. We write songs already together. And
Okay.
so I sent it to him. I said, "Hey, what you think about this track?" And he was like, "Oh, it's good. It's good. It's good." Maybe like 5 minutes later, he was like, "Hey, I got like a line or two." And I said, "Okay, cool." He sent it to me, and I was just like, "Oh, that's dope." And then I just expanded on it, and we ended up getting like a whole song out of it. And then I was just singing and singing and singing, and I was just like, "I got to rap." So I took one of the breakdown parts and I just rapped. because I'm so used to like rapping now that I was just like, I gotta do something else on it. So that's how that came to be. And then I just put it out because like everybody was putting out like um, certain type of rap music, that they expect. And there's nothing wrong with it, but that was just what everybody was pushing. So I was
Yeah.
just okay, I'm gonna go the opposite way and do this first. Because I have, those type of songs, rap songs and things like that, but I didn't want to put that out first.
So I'm glad that you segued there because one of the things that I do notice having the opportunity to review music and talk to different people in the industry is the lane that women choose to take when they really want to gain that attention. And what I noticed about the Pristine track and video was that you really truly did go a different direction where it was about your talent, less about anything else outside of
Mhm.
giving them the opportunity to connect with you.
Yeah, I
Um,
wanted to really do that. That's something that I think women sometimes we forget, right? Like we're beautiful, we're sexy, we're all that, right? But it doesn't have to be so much all the time, right? Like there's times for it, right? And I think it's not so much that the market is saturated with that, it's
yeah,
that that's what, a lot of them think that they have to do just to get attention. It's okay if that's your style, but sometimes it's not even their style and that's just what they're doing because they think that they have to do that. And so I purposely told them, hey, don't shoot lower than here. Hey, don't do this, don't do that. And then when we had the dancing, I had the one part where we dropped to the floor. And I said, that'll be the only little part. And everybody caught that part because there was none of it in the rest of the video.
yeah.
So
So good to use creativity. I mean, from the beginning to the end. One of the things that I like to touch on, especially when I do have the opportunity to speak with other women, is how they've been able to navigate their journey in an industry like the music and entertainment field with it being male dominated. So, can you give a younger artist at least one nugget of advice that they could take for themselves as a female that will help them be able to remain professional at all times in an industry like this?
I would say whatever you want to be known as and perceived as, do that from the beginning. Because once you are known as for a certain thing in a certain way, it's going to remain that way for the rest of your career. So I
Ooh,
know a lot of girls want to do the fast route and they do certain things to, get to the fast route.
yeah,
And then, they're upset about how men or even other women perceive them. And you can't walk it back. And granted, the other route might take you a little longer, but at the end of the day, you have your integrity, you have everything, your faculties in place versus regretting a lot later.
love that. I mean, that's a gem in itself. And I've never really heard anybody present it in that manner. Although, if you really think about it, that's true. You can play in a lot of different fields. You can create a lot of different music, but it's the same thing. Like the first impression is the lasting impression. So if the first thing that I see from you is something that's more risky, then even when you try to go one way, I'm going to want you to keep veering back that other way because that's what drew me in originally.
Yeah, and they're gonna keep you in a box. That's the reason why I decided to go a different route first because I want you to be able to see that I can go from here all the way to there, right? But sometimes when you do it the opposite way, they still only want to pay attention to that. So you got to try as a woman to maneuver a little bit.
Okay, so as long as you've been in the industry so far, what has been the best collaboration that you've been able to land?
So like when it comes to music itself, like the songs and things I put out, I don't really too much like to collaborate in that sense,
Okay,
but
yeah.
I do collaborate a lot of the times behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
So I write ghostly for a lot of different people, and that's the type of collaboration that I like to do because I get to be creative. So let's just say we were just talking about, certain types of artists and rappers and things like that. Well, maybe I'm not, a Jackie O, but when I write, I can write anything, so it might be just a creative point. I'm like, I would never talk like this. But I found it to be very creative. So I do create and collaborate with other writers that are known and not known that way.
Okay, awesome. So let's talk about the podcast.
Yeah.
I want to know more about that field and how that ties into your journey as an artist.
So my podcast is called the Red Cup Podcast, and I pretty much talk about just pop culture, right? Like I am obsessed with everything pop culture, from music to politics, because everything in music is what you see outside.
Yeah.
So music embodies literally everything that's going on in the social spectrum. So I wanted to do a podcast that just talked about everything that was going on, just like my music. Like
Mhm.
I think podcasting is just another form for me to create. I already write. I already, basically have to talk. So it's just doing it in another form. I already do music videos, setting up things, this and that. I do shows where I have to, be on the microphone. So it's really not a difference other than I'm not sweating to death afterwards.
Now, make sure you tell people how they can tune in and tap into the Red Cup podcast movement.
Yes, you can go on YouTube and type in the Red Cup Podcast. Really, honestly and truly, I'm so surprised at like all of the response that we've been getting, because it's only been like 7 weeks. So, and I mean, we've been getting a really good response. We even got some politicians to respond. Yeah. We talked about Brian McKnight and his son, and the son just had he was like, "Oh, I have time today," so we were talking to him. So it's just been like a really good response. So we're gonna post one more episode for the first season, and then we're gonna move on to the second season, because I have so many different ideas. And as well, in addition to the podcast, I also have a portion where I do interviews, celebrity interviews, um, uh, big content creators, um, known artists, DJs, all of that. And I just talk to people who, move the needle in whatever space, right? And I don't necessarily have to agree with it, but I like people who stand 10 toes on whatever they're talking about, whatever they're doing, and really just, trying to push the culture forward. So I have that as well. One of my interviews I have already is with Anton Daniels. He's very controversial, uh, but I love it because I think you should see all types of walks of life. And my next interview, she definitely is someone that I would say has been very. The last 2 years, probably one of the talks of the culture. Her name is Malago Graham. So
Oh, okay.
of Mob Radio, and she, yeah. with the Tory Lanez case and everything. Yeah, it's yeah. So that's just what we're, some of the things that we're working on. But athletes, we have athletes coming on from boxers to NFL players. So just we talk to everybody, all walks of life, Democrat, Republican, it doesn't matter.
So y'all make sure that y'all tune in, tap into the Red Cup podcast. Also follow her at Pop Culture Micca.
Yes.
Stay tuned in because she's got a lot going on, and you definitely don't want to miss any of these drops, these singles, these episodes, anything that she's moving.
Yes.
Now, for my next question, I always like to throw like a bit of a zinger in there
Okay.
for my people. So, for this question, I think it would be good to ask like, if you were on an island and you could only bring three things with you on this island, what would those three things be?
It would have to be. Is it like things, or does it have to be like people, or just like things? Like,
You could do whatever variation that you want. If you want to do a thing plus two people, or however you want to mix it up.
okay, as long as I can have, and I know that I wouldn't probably have this, but um, if I can have probably Reese's Pieces, if I can have Reese's Pieces, at least one family member that I like, um, and probably some type of instrument, I'm good. Because I don't always necessarily eat, so I gotta have a snack. And I love the company, and I love talking to other people. And I like instruments. I like to make music. So that'll probably be it.
Okay, that tells us a little bit about you. So I always like to just throw a random oddball question in my interviews with individuals because I think it's important for people to also see the human side of
Yeah.
industry tastemakers and celebrities as well. So
Yep.
I am an advocate for the DJ and the independent artists. Like I love my DJs. I've been with Fleet DJs for a very long time, and I have learned so much by being able to just understand how they take the music and really can break it and
Mhm.
get more people excited and even move the crowd off things that people don't even know are out there. So, from your opinion, like how do you view DJs? Because some people feel like in the world of social media, they're not as relevant as they used to be.
Um, I think because people, are used to DJs being more of, the radio, right? And so with that aspect not being, in the forefront as much anymore, they don't regard DJs a certain way. But it could be no further from the truth because I found that it was it was the DJs that actually took a song that I had and passed it all around. And a DJ from Serbia hit me one day and was just like, "Hey, I got footage of, everybody in the club to your song." I was like, "What country is this?" And he said, "Oh, Serbia." And so I've never been there. I don't know what that is. And my thing is, if that DJ had never done that, those people would never know who I was. They would have never seen anything that I've done. So to say that they're not relevant is like saying that it doesn't matter about, who's consuming it. Because I think a lot of the times the DJ does set the tone and set the tone in the culture. And I also think DJs also set the tone for a lot of things in, the performance aspect, right? If you have a phenomenal DJ, your set can be dope. If you have a trash DJ, it's going to be a bad.
I would
So
agree.
that's the DJ is just as important, and hyping the crowd, keeping the energy, because I've been places where artists, if it wasn't for that DJ, I wouldn't know what the artist was saying. I wouldn't have been as hype. It's just sometimes the DJ is might as well be the artist as well, because they're helping out, they're doing a lot. So DJs are definitely needed. They're definitely and they're down at the clubs, they're at the radio stations, they're on the internet. They keep the post with the consumers, with the fans and things like that, to actually see what's really going on and what people want to hear.
I couldn't have said it better myself. It's if you're looking for a way to break a track or build brand engagement without having to spend a lot of money, the one person that's always going to be where all of the people are is the DJ. And it's kind of like once you build those relationships with them, you have no idea where a track could go.
Yep.
Doing an ad for them, if they're radio based or on social media, you never know who's tapping in. Like there's just so many different
Yeah.
avenues that you could use a DJ to really help you in your business.
Yeah, and it's just like you said, you never know who they know. I had a DJ in France. Somebody sent him something of mine, and he wanted to do a song, and it ended up getting picked up by Virgin Records in Africa and France, and it's been there, and it was on the charts there and everything. I was just like,
That's awesome. I mean, the
and
world
I
is
would have
so
never done it.
connected. It amazes me at how fast word travels.
Oh.
And when you do learn the algorithm, which I know that's something that you mentioned earlier with your marketing partner, once
Mhm.
you do understand that algorithm, it's like the speed of light, how quick that you can be sitting in one side of the world and people on the other side of the world are rooting for you and just kind of like ultimate fans. And you may have never seen these people in your entire life.
Sometimes when I look at certain, analytics, I would have never thought I would be big there. I'm just
Yeah.
like, oh my God. Oh, okay. And some of these places I know don't speak English. So, or
Mhm.
even Spanish. It's just like, I think music, depending on what kind of music, but I think music as a whole can either, change the tone positively or negatively, but music is a frequency, and you don't need to know what somebody's saying, to feel the vibration from that music. So I think a lot of the times people really need to sit back and look at what they're putting out and say, okay, am I okay with this? Is this something that I'm okay with being put out to the world, because you never know who's listening to it.
On that note, like I was gonna ask you for a nugget, one more before we ended this conversation. But before I even needed to, you already let us know. Like keep planning, keep building those relationships, keep at it, keep having faith. And you never know where this thing could go. Um,
It's true.
you guys know it's just Miss Wales, your host of the Fleet Nation podcast. Follow me on Instagram, whether it's at It's Just Miss Wales or the Fleet Nation podcast. And make sure you all are tuning in, tapping in to the Fleet Radio Network to keep up with all this movement. Micca, please tell these people just one more time before we go this evening where they can keep up with the music, the podcast, and your essence in total.
So again, it's at Pop Culture Micca. You can Google me. I'm on all social media platforms, every last one of them that you can think about. I'm on all streaming services, every last one of them that you can think about. And my podcast again is the Red Cup Podcast, and we're on YouTube, and we're soon to be on other streaming platforms soon as well.
Well, thank you again for an amazing 8th episode. And we wish you luck on all of your
Yeah,
endeavors and are here to support you in every way. Thank
thank
you
you.
again.
I appreciate it.